All right, good day, everyone. It's Sylvain here. Welcome again for another video today. With me, I've got Vishnu from StackOS. So really excited to discuss about this project. I just recently heard about it. Someone told me in a Telegram. I was like, you should check this one out or something like that. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have a look at it. Obviously, there's a lot of projects out there, so it's always like, okay, well, another one, whatever, and then you get to like it. So that's why I reached out, and then with Vishnu, and then it's like, might as well do an interview and talk about it, see what it's all about. So first, yeah, welcome on the show, Vishnu. Thanks for having.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you for
so
having me, Salvan.
yeah, so to start, can we talk about yourself a little bit, your background, and what brought you to create StackOS?
Yeah, sure. My background, right? I am an engineer by heart. I had worked in different industries, right? So my education is in engineering, mechanical engineering. I have got a patent in cryogenics and a cryogenic engine, which is what I built out. And of course, there's no engineering or machine development without having software to back it. So that's how I entered into software, build up prototypes there before we can actually start launching it. So it just drove me from there. Again, knowing engineering wasn't at my heart. I had to build something around it, and from the beginning, from the get go, I've been working in as a DevOps in the core DevOps engineering, and during on the way, also I started to go and explore management degrees. So I have like two international degrees. So one of them is in international business. The second one is in finance from Harvard University. And that's my educational background, right? But that being said, I've been working in engineering throughout my career, almost about like more than 10 to 12 years now. And have explored across worked in different parts of the world now, mostly in the US. I've worked in, what I like to say, one fun fact about me is I've worked in 4 time zones in the US, right? In San Francisco, in Boulder, in Colorado, and
Okay.
Wisconsin, and the Boston, Massachusetts. So
Oh,
it's
nice,
it's been
nice.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of traveling. It's always fun. Yeah, so let's discuss now about StackOS. Or probably people watching are probably wondering, like, what is it? Like they've probably got an invite. They went into the Telegram that became popular quickly, and now so what can they expect? What it's all about?
Yeah. So now StackOS, it's not something which was built like yesterday, right? It's been in the making for a while now, and we have some of the very strong advisors within the community in the blockchain space, and our focus has always been on development. It became very popular. You know why? Because we have a brilliant product, right? Which is not very
Yeah.
common, and that's what makes us so unique. And we have been focusing on engineering for a very long time, and just the fact being there that we were Integro, we were like a learning management system on the blockchain, and we were trying to build up an infrastructure layer for Integro. And over the period we were trying to build it out. One of our Fabio, who's from new community, and he went up and created Nash. um, so what happened was, he was like, hey Vishnu, you don't realize this, but the infrastructure protocol you're building out is actually a product by itself, and it's something which is very powerful. So he said, just think about it and see if that can be expanded. And it was like, it occurred to me like that's actually so true. And we spoke to many other people, got some feedback, and it was like very clear that the infrastructure layer is something which is very powerful. So it's been like 2 years, 3 years almost now of purely building out that infrastructure protocol. And the thing is, if you ask me like one sentence or two, 1.5, 2 sentences, then what StackOS is, it will be like it's a decentralized layer of infrastructure, right? And it's built to be able to work across chains, and also be able to run applications in a very quick time. So there are people and developers who can just go ahead, click some buttons, and have a running application deployed. So it's AWS in the cloud. right? But this is decentralized. That's what makes it unique.
Okay, so in that case, now you're not kind of forming a blockchain per se, right? So it's mostly like a cloud. Just to give a perspective, people to understand it. Is that the case, or so it's not like you're not building an entire blockchain, are you, or is it?
So this is meant to be interoperable, right? So
Yeah.
all the different blockchains can interface with the infrastructure layer. So
Okay.
it is not a blockchain by itself, but it does have a lot of blockchain features where it synchronizes the data from one node to another to
Okay.
ensure that when applications go down, right, it is always able to recover back from some other place. So it's not traditional blockchain, but it has got the infrastructure layer because you can't run real world applications on smart contracts, right? You need to have a place where you can run containers and the application itself, which is
Yeah.
not just contracts. So that's a little different from real blockchain, but it is basically in something which is like a cloud in a decentralized manner.
Okay. And then talking about blockchain, so which one would it be compatible with at the moment? I think Ethereum, right? Because you're kind of testing using like the MetaMask
Correct.
wallet and stuff. So can you tell
Exactly.
us like which blockchains at the moment are kind of compatible with it?
Yeah. So presently we are only Ethereum, right? So
Okay.
all of our smart contracts which we have are in Ethereum, and but we are exploring other chain like Binance Chain, and they can take native Ethereum contracts there as well, right? So it is pretty much we're in testnet, and we try to explore places where we can start using this. Again, it's in very 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 early stage, right?
Yeah.
Where we are working with some big blockchain partners to see if that's where we should be going. So again, that's very early stage right now, but hopefully if things work out, we'll be in other chains very soon.
Wanted to get to I was looking at the website and I saw Neo as part of the blockchains mentioned in there, sort of logo and everything. So is that so at this point it's not really compatible with this one, or are you using that one to build integration, or is it a partnership at the moment, or
So what that those neo Ethereum, those are nodes, right? And they
yeah.
can be any, we can actually put any of the logo there as well. But the focus of that are the nodes. You can technically deploy neo Ethereum nodes on StackOS, and we are doing that right now. So
Okay.
we have other blockchain protocols also, nodes also being deployed on StackOS.
Okay, so yeah, that's a bit more technical, but yeah, eventually I'll get there too. But a lot of
Right.
technical part. And then you mentioned something about Nash, right? And I barely knew about this one. I think it looks like an exchange built again on using the Neo blockchain, right? Is that correct?
So one of our advisors, his name is Fabio.
Yeah.
He's one of the co-founders of Nash.
Okay.
But Nash is somewhat of a layer two exchange. So it is not neo based, right? But it,
Okay.
it, it can work. It's interoperable again with different blockchain protocols.
And now at this point, I think I wanted to get to that question is people have heard of it, they're kind of reading blogs and so on about it. So what stage is it at for StackOS? So are we developing? I think the mainnet's not quite operational yet. So where are we at this point?
So you can run real applications on it, right? And there are people. So you must have seen this. We launched the entire marketing campaign once we partnered with Chainlink, right? Um, and within few hours, we had about 2,000 different registrations, out of which we have deployed more than about 1,000 applications are running. So that happened pretty much immediately, right? Because we were offering credits for people to go test out that application. Um, so that's it's running, is operational. People can do things on it, so it's pretty much there. What we are working currently on is the tokens swaps. So again, as I said, it's interoperable, and what we want to do is make it very very seamless for customers. I'm not sure if you saw the demonstration video. I hope you have. right?
Yeah, I
But
think I did. Yeah, I did quickly. It seems like really easy to use.
yeah. So user experience has been the core of entire product line which we're trying to build out, right? So even from transactions point of view, what we need is that people shouldn't necessarily have to use or buy or purchase stack tokens to be able to, work with StackOS ecosystem. Everything happens behind the scenes, right? So it is like the blood within the body. So stack tokens would be the ones circulating within the network to be able to really operate the network. So so we're trying to work with different farming aspects of it. So how do you start generating these new tokens, and how do they get burned, and how they use for transactions. So which is again internal to the StackOS platform,
Okay.
which is pretty much built out, but it's at the final stages there. So that is kind of the technical place where we are, but the infrastructure protocol works seamlessly, and it's doing a pretty good job. In month of December, a few months back, as 3 months back, we finally released our decentralized proxy layer. So there's another small component of entire network. So we have this chain of called beacon chain of decentralized proxy layers, which basically route the traffic to the network of infrastructure instances, right? So the community members can basically go launch a cluster, and then that mesh is the one which transfers the different applications within that network, depending on where it's requested for, where it's supposed to go, and things like that. So that is also built out, again working, right? So yeah, we're pretty advanced actually. We're not like just building out things. It's pretty much fleshed out.
Yeah, just yeah, fairly advanced, just kind of tuning out the little kinks here and there, and yeah, getting ready.
Yeah,
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but for anyone kind of wondering, really, okay, so it's that seems complicated, but really, what does it offer for me at this point? So, we could say people can host like websites if they
yeah,
want to run application. Is that the case? Like, is that the can because I think I was saying like the WordPress, right? So could someone like just launch
yeah,
their blog, let's say, like just like it doesn't need to be
yeah,
tech, right? So it could just be like a
yeah.
someone wanted to share like their. So can you do that? Like,
One click of a button, man. One click of a button, right?
yeah,
So and it's really fascinating when I see the different use cases for the token. The token economic model is, it focuses on the governance of the network. Again, that is something which we're working on currently. The governance is not there yet, but since you asked me like earlier, right, what all is in the works and what is supposed to happen. So
yeah,
the DAO is something which we are working on currently. And even more important is the entire token economic model of the marketplace. So it is built out such that anyone in the community can start deploying or running, give the templates of their application on the marketplace, and then the tokens can be used to stake, and rank it based on their preference. And like if they're more stake token staked, higher will be the ranking of, or more will be, the higher up they will be posted. So that is kind of the way it works. Of course, going to also take into consideration what how people are voting that application to be, right. So currently we have 3 applications which we have posted, um, and one of them is WordPress, because it's very popular. People can understand what exactly that is, what it's capable of, right. So people will be able to deploy newer and newer applications there, and anyone from the community can just go click a button and run that application, right. While developers who are really building something from scratch, they could actually go and enter some of their data information about their application onto the main UI, and then they can run the application that way as well. The entire StackOS protocol focuses on few core components, right? Um, but critically also some of key features, right? So it has to be it should be able to recover from disasters, right? We saw something very similar right now in Europe, and one of them in India. The data center actually just caught fire, and
yeah,
pretty much and there was no way to recover them, or very very hard to recover. So this can happen on any protocol, at that level, right? When they're trying to serve customers across the world, and there'll be somebody always going down. So Disaster recovery is in the bloodstream of StackOS. So if something goes down, it should be able to go launch somewhere else within an instant, right? If you just from the demonstration, you must have noticed that uh, within seconds that application actually comes up. And that is how quickly it will recover if some a data center goes down, right? If another community member or one of the nodes which was running an application goes down, it will immediately be replaced into a new node. Again, that's going to be optional feature, but something which is going to be built out in the as part of the core components, which any developer can choose what he wants and he can choose not to. It's up to them. But so that's one of the key features of StackOS. Also, the way in which it starts to, it's supposed to be highly available, right? You always at any time if there's a surge in traffic, how are we able to scale it horizontally? And if something goes wrong in some availability zone, how does it start to restructure itself so that it can align with the consistently increasing traffic? So all those functionalities of horizontal scaling, vertical scaling, and disaster recovery, they are like in the bloodstream of StackOS. So
Okay.
yeah.
So how does it do that? So then, uh, if I'm not mistaken, so that would be not all the servers are all within the same building. So if it catches fire like it did in France for, I think it was OVH or whatever, so they were out for a bit. They
Yeah.
had like the business there had to look for alternatives at that point.
Yep.
Obviously, OVH was working on
Yes.
trying to reestablish that. So is that the case of like? And I've heard like, and I've seen from your website that it's a lot of people can contribute to it. So is that
Yes.
people throughout the world running like nodes and stuff that makes it so it can be like always up and not based on like one office or whatever, like
Exactly.
is that how that works?
That's precisely how it works, right? But there's that's again, when you look at it from the top, that's what customers should know, right? There's
Yeah.
so much more technical within it to actually how to make that happen. But to give you a quick background there, so you have multiple nodes across the world. We will have custom or individual contributors come. They will be able to use their own hardware to contribute to the StackOS ecosystem, but they could also use their own Amazon accounts to actually contribute, right?
Okay.
So I'm like, tomorrow Salvin is like, hey, I have a GCP account. Why can't I contribute? Using their infrastructure, right? So there'll be individuals across the world, either using different regions and different cloud providers, as well they will be using their own hardware to actually add real infrastructure to the StackOS platform ecosystem. So what happens is that they will be um, incentivized for doing that, right? Of
Okay.
course. And also what happens is that when something goes down, and which will happen at some point, and I'm not going to be surprised if it does. But where the strength of StackOS comes in, it's able to replicate. And so the decentralized proxy that I talked about, right, the chain, beacon chain, we say, is the one which will make the transition from one area to the second area. So immediately in the back end, you would see in the infrastructure mesh, one of the components go down, it will immediately replicate to another data center. And since DNS, like the Google domain name services, what they do is basically they point to an endpoint, right? So what the DNS actually should point to would be the proxy, decentralized proxy service, so which is in the beacon chain. So
Yep.
what they do is they would know that, hey, the location of application where it's hosted has changed to Z, so it automatically starts transitioning the traffic from one to another. So from the user point of view, they won't even see the difference. Everything technical of how one transition from one infrastructure to second one just happens in the backend. And I think something very cool you mentioned, that they were trying to look for alternatives, and see, hey, one of the data center went down, a new one they have to find someone else, negotiate something with them, and hopefully they're able to run. But I'm telling you, I have worked in this industry very very long. I'm pretty certain the customers are not able to deploy that application that well, and it takes very very long time, and there is so much downtime there. It's not even funny. So the key component, the way StackOS handles this thing is it it makes every environment exactly similar. They could be running in AWS. It could be run. They could be running in a Google Compute Cloud,
Yeah.
or they could be running in Azure, or they could be running on the hardware. From any application deployment point of view, it's exactly the same environment. So, and this is one of the the problems we solve as well, is that when you say you're deployed to AWS, they have to be deployed differently if they have to be deployed into GCP. In StackOS, no matter which infrastructure provider you're using, it is exactly the same. StackOS's network makes it the same. So from the customer point of view or developer point of view, they don't have to worry about where they're deploying. It's just that, hey, I want my service to deploy. It just go and work.
Yeah, can it also, like, we've seen that, like, recently with all the elections and like so many
Yeah,
applications like Parlay, Gab, and all those applications that had a hard time, like, either finding more servers and so on and providers, or even like they were shut down by some for political reasons and stuff like that. So does StackOS come in play
yeah,
with that? Can it provide like that decentralized kind of censorship kind of resistant
yeah,
portion of it?
exactly. And thank you for asking that question, because it is actually very appropriate here. Um, Even we don't know. So again, as I said, there were about 1,000 applications deployed. We don't even know who the person was and what they deployed. So that is something very very unique, right? So
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
and for anyone to bring down any one node, it doesn't make any sense, right? They have to bring down the entire network. But guess what? There is always, where there's a demand, there's a supply, right? The markets get created. So even if somebody takes down some server from somewhere else, it's immediately going to go transition somewhere else and get created. And the decentralized proxy layer, which is the beacon chain,
yeah,
it should not be confused with the Ethereum. We had the same before. But the point is that automatically relays the traffic. So if someone says, hey, this proxy, we want to take down this proxy, and you can use some other proxy, right? From any um, it's pretty much independent of any country government. Nobody can regulate it, and I think that is one of the very very strengths of StackOS.
yeah.
It is censorship resistant.
Yeah, exactly. So if from the demo, essentially, so if you go in, like, let's say Ethereum MetaMask wallet, you go in, you're gonna deploy that blog or whatever that could be, like not politically correct or whatever, but they won't, like, you won't know really who's publishing that, really, except if
Yeah,
they,
yeah,
mention their name on the page, right? But they wouldn't know really that, oh, that's Gab, let's shut that down, right? So they don't know that, right?
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So
See,
that's
the thing is,
that
everything will have its benefits and consequences, right? Humanity usually chooses it changes for the better, and you know there's a very very good um, so let me tell you this way, right? So I think this was 2 years back. I went to Denver for an Ethereum conference.
yeah,
Andres Antonopoulos had a very good speech there about the exact same thing. He was talking about Ethereum, and what it's going to do for the humanity, and then that's when he brought up this question of internet, right? People say that a lot of harm will come with internet, but guess what, right? If you see, there's more positive and benefits of internet than the negatives of internet. Definitely it does have its own negative side, right? So I think
yeah.
overall humanity does go towards the positive, on the positive things of it. And we're pretty optimistic about it is going to have its own consequences, right? You can't just shut it down. It has its own benefits, pros and the cons. But
Yeah.
people will create markets, right? Like it or not, the markets are always, like, they always exist. And we are not solving any specific problem. We know it's going to have its own issues, but it is going to be what it is.
Yeah, right on. So yeah, that's good solutions, obviously, because it's been like the hot topic for a little bit here,
Yeah,
well, in the States, and I think throughout the world in general. So now let's go back to what people have been asking, especially in the Telegram. Let's
Yeah,
go back to that the StackOS token. How can they get started? With it. Where is it at this point? I think there's some you're in that legal aspect of it. So can you explain
yeah.
a little bit for people just kind of not desperate, but they're looking forward to be able to maybe invest in the StackOS token?
Yeah, so we will be having a private sale. There's a lot of excitement around it. I really want to be able to give it to as many people as I want to. Right, money is not really of consequence at this point. You know, there are people coming from very very large sum and trying to say, "Yeah, I'm going to put this much money." Honestly, it's not about the money, right? It's about how do you make this thing have this thing be in as many hands as possible. I think that is what our goal is. But there are some legal challenges. We are based out of US, right? Highly regulated. You can't just start giving out tokens to people without any there's a lot of KYC requirements, and there's a lot of other legal hassles, right? So
Yeah.
so we are trying to figure those aspects of things and how that should be dealt with. If there are there any ways, and I'm a big proponent of that, right? Of trying to make this thing available to most people. So we're trying to figure those things out, and hopefully things will be as expected. But so we will be raising some private funds, and then definitely again, that's not going to be major, so I don't think people should be concerned at all about I know people raise just too much from private funds, and then and it gets dumped over on regular people. um, that definitely won't happen. That's not the goal, right? So
Yeah.
we aren't raising as much.
Yeah, exactly. There's some people that have been doing quite a bit with BTC lately, so I'm sure some can afford some great sum of money. So obviously, like you said, that's usually not the issue, and I try to get that
Yeah,
decentralized so a lot of people can have it, contribute to it, and feel
exactly.
like they can add value to the project while participating
Right.
and investing a little bit. And then
Yeah,
we've seen with is it XRP, really the security part, and you want
yeah,
to be careful with the how you treat the whole venture, right? Because you could end
exactly.
up like having issues down the road, and you might as well
Right.
set it correctly at the start, right? Then
Exactly.
having to drop price significantly or afterwards, or shut down or whatever because of issues like that. So
Precisely, you're right. So I think legalities are very important. They have to be dealt with. And there's no point rushing into it, right?
yeah.
I would just urge the community to um, just focus on maybe other good things in life, right? And
Yeah.
token will be released, right, sooner
Yeah.
than we expected to. But you know yeah, so that hopefully in the month of April it should be out. But again, there's a lot of questions. We're dealing with a lot of different government bodies trying to get their feedback, and then accordingly make the decisions.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask how long you think that I would take if it was like closer to like short term or more like within 6 months or a year or something.
No, no,
So
it shouldn't be that long. Yeah, no.
okay, so
Yeah,
that's pretty good. So that people can yeah they can wait, but
yeah, yeah,
yeah they can
yeah,
enjoy maybe some of their markets that are doing well at the moment.
yeah. Exactly.
Especially. And yeah, one thing that I've been seeing recently, and I've covered projects before, and then you mentioned about it, and we're going to veer off a little bit from StackOS now, but um you said like obviously you're built on like with Ethereum at the moment, and then you mentioned about Binance chain, right? And they build their Binance Smart Chain as well. And I'm starting to see a lot of projects moving towards that one, especially the ones going over to Ethereum, having that wrapped whatever, right? Wrapped this, wrapped that, wrapped BTC, but like the
Yeah,
smaller projects. But now they
yeah.
seem to be moving to Binance Smart Chains, obviously because of fees. So is that like something you're also looking at to integrate in the next little while, or
Yeah, so I think it is coming very soon, right?
yeah,
Again, we're working with different partners, as I said, protocol partners, to see how we can integrate with them. I so there is a lot of talks about, hey, one moving from one protocol to another. From my point of view, and I think that's what my entire team is also, I think, supports that as well. There's no point fighting between or choosing between blockchains when you can be interoperable, right?
Yeah.
And our focus is interoperability.
Yeah.
And there are people who will be, using Ethereum, great, right? There are people who will be using Binance Chain, great. It doesn't matter to us as long as, you
Yeah.
know,
The other
um,
support. Yeah.
correct, right?
Yeah.
So all we need to do is create an infrastructure layer. We are not a blockchain protocol. We are an infrastructure protocol, and any blockchain should be able to operate and work with us.
Okay.
We're partnered with Chainlink, and they have a lot of other partners as well, which they connect with currently. So pretty much, I think all of them will be the ones will be supporting for sure.
Yeah. So they're sort of like, let's say for Chainlink, so they're kind of oracles, but then people maybe, and even myself sometimes, don't really understand what that completely does, right? So
Yeah,
what does Chainlink do with your project? Like what
yeah,
specific role does it have to do with you in that sense for Chainlink?
correct. Yeah. So look at this way, right? In the world of the internet, you use www.google.com,
Yeah.
right? There's a domain which is running in real world. How can anyone know who owns that? And how will, and when you come to the blockchain world, and which as I've said, we're interoperable, and with Ethereum, let's pick up an example. If there's an application deployed on StackOS infrastructure and
Yeah.
needs that information data about who owns that DNS, how will a smart contract understand that? So what we do, we work with Chainlink, is that to be able to provide that data of decentralized the DNS into the decentralized network of having that information which is publicly available into the blockchain, and then we use that data to actually structure our infrastructure layer, to so that we know what application is built, where is it deployed, where does it need to move in case of a disaster.
Okay. Yeah, so obviously important roles within that,
Yeah.
and I think like I even asked some questions about like databases, clouds, and oracles. It's all
Hmm.
terms that
Yeah.
I don't think, like, even myself sometimes I get, like, have a hard time, so I got to keep reading about it, obviously.
Yeah.
And I think mostly people,
It
I don't
is.
think the general person won't know really what to expect. Obviously,
Yeah.
most people, like we've seen with Apple and the iPhones, if they use the application and it works, like they don't really care
Yeah.
about the background, like
Right.
the
Exactly.
like do like you know people like going on onto like google.com, do they know the background of that? Like they don't need to know it.
Yeah.
It's nice for some people, but as long as they can go and do their transaction and their banking or whatever through the website, they're happy, right? So I think it's
Hmm.
all terms that sometimes we focus on because it's new, but maybe at the end
Yeah.
of the day it's not that important really. What's important, I guess, for people would be like, okay, I've got a blog, got a website, oh, I'm building an application I can use through its StackOS, and then contribute to that, and then have it in a decentralized way, making sure that it's always going to be up, and so on. So I think that's,
Yeah.
am I
Yeah.
making a
So
good
yeah. Yeah. No,
presentation of what?
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. When you said oracles, right? So no, they are Oracle service, Chainlink, right? So the and in fact, their role, and how we work with them, is to get the non-blockchain data, which is the DNS, DNS verification
Yeah.
and ownership into the blockchain,
Okay.
and that's our partnership with them. And if you look at their main marketplace actually for Chainlink, you will see StackOS as a
Okay.
provider for their services. So it is, and if you even look at, there's a DNS service now which we have launched, which is within the Chainlink's ecosystem. So you can actually go to their main Chainlink's documentation and you can see it in multiple places where is a reference to the DNS oracles which we
Okay.
run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool stuff. Yeah. So I don't know if you wanted to say final words about the project. I think it covers pretty much just kind of
Yeah.
the basic, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
have you again another show to
No,
cover
absolutely.
the updates of it. But before we leave here, so what can you talk to tell people about the project, look into it, who is it for, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'll tell. What I will do is I'll tell one fun fact, right, about StackOS. Um, Everything you saw on the demonstration, right, the
Yeah.
demonstration video for StackOS is
Yeah.
actually deployed on StackOS.
Okay, I'll put that in the
So,
description as well, with the
so
link to the video as well.
Yeah, no, no, yeah, absolutely, you should, right? But the entire the protocol our application is running on the protocol itself,
Okay.
right? So that is the biggest testament to the power of StackOS, right? You would always see that thing, running, and it is deployed onto itself. So it
Okay.
is empowered that
Yeah.
when you're deploying an app from StackOS's main website, it is using the same protocol to deploy onto itself with the protocol. So
Yeah.
which is, I think, really fascinating. Those I'm forgetting, there's a movie, the English movie. I'm just forgetting the name now, but it's something like that. Like, you are in the world, but you can go within the world itself.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's actually really cool. It's good that we mentioned that before at the end of the show that it deploys onto itself. So it's really good. And sometimes we might see it with projects. It's like, oh, come and use our project, but we're using something else to
yeah.
support it because it's not that good yet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know.
yeah. So
So
it's
yeah,
cool though.
that's a fun fact, right? But again, just trying to sum it up, right? StackOS is a decentralized application layer, right? Its focus is on decentralizing infrastructure such that it can work across different chains, and it is also able to allow seamless deployments of application. Right? So that is what we are focusing on our strengths, right? We were supposed to write on our own Oracle service. We decided not to, and say, hey, what, let's try to form partnerships and make it more available to everyone. So yeah, I think we are doing a great job here. It's been days and nights work,
Yeah.
and it's been in the making for a while now. It seems like it's showtime now, so
Yeah,
pretty excited
exactly.
about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well done to you and your team as well. So yeah, like you mentioned, and building and doing partnerships. I think we're probably going towards that in blockchain space probably because a lot of
Yeah,
different, like there's 8K plus coins out there, and I think a lot of I've started to kind of regroup the EVM, the Ethereum virtual
yeah,
machine, kind of working together. So that's probably the future for projects in general. So that's probably, you're probably well positioned in that, right,
yes,
in that aspect. So I
yeah.
think it's probably going towards to be that way. Maybe projects will die, will be absorbed by other ones, that sort of thing, right? So
A lot will happen, right? And I think the fun is yet to begin, right? It's just the beginning. So I'm pretty excited about StackOS. I'm also very excited about the ecosystem in general. I think we
yeah.
are doing an amazing job as a community, and it's just been great. Yeah,
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks for coming on, Vishnu. So hopefully, again, we do that again in a few months. Probably
yeah, of course.
we'll get to cover a lot of updates from your team and the project itself. So thanks a lot for taking the time to come on the show here today.
Yeah, thank you, Sullivan, for your time, and thank you for having me here. It was a
Yeah,
pleasure speaking
thanks.
with you.
It was a pleasure.